Discover unbeatable deals and convenience at your neighborhood family fare supermarkets. Score exclusive deals, earn rewards, join clubs, and clip digital coupons for extra savings all in one place. Our exclusive offers bring savings straight to your card. Explore a wide range of local products that support your community. With easy pickup and delivery options, saving time and grocery shopping has never been easier. Family Fare is all about making your grocery experience easy and affordable and your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. Family Fare in your neighborhood.
Coming to Curiosity Stream, go on an adventure 66 million years in the making with Dino Week. From new discoveries about the dinosaurs we thought we knew, to the mind-blowing species still being unearthed, and the controversial discovery that could rewrite history. Did dinosaurs survive longer than imagined? Dino Week on Curiosity Stream. And with monthly, annual, and bundled pricing plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Hi, this is Matt and Amanda with Deep Woods Paranormal, and today we're going to be going down memory lane. Amanda and I are going to be talking about some of our favorite cases and some of our favorite experiences from those cases. So, one of my favorite experiences was from our very first client. He was nice enough to have us over. We were just getting started. We didn't have a lot of gear. I think we had one Sony Handycam with night vision. A friend of mine actually had a DVR camera that plugged into his laptop with night vision, and then I think we had one audio recorder. But he didn't care. The client was very, very nice, and he allowed us to come in and investigate his uncle's house, who unfortunately just passed away. And he was looking for answers to that. And we got that and a lot more. We got way more than we expected. Now, at this point, we had been investigating, Amanda and I and a few other friends have been investigating for years together. And we had just brought in a few people that were also like-minded individuals that were interested in ghost hunting. And they came in and were investigating with us, and most of their minds were just blown by this case. So when we got there, we got set up. I was actually inside, and I was actually trying to set up the camera so he could cover this room, because that's where he said he was experiencing most of his activity. And as I was inside, one of the guys comes in, Matt, you got to see this. I'm like, what? But you just got to come out here. We went into the garage, and I had my video camera on, and I recorded a wrench that was hooked on a nail, and basically there was several different things hooked on this shelf, but the wrench was the only thing going back and forth. It was so strange. And I looked at him, I'm like, very funny guys. I mean, yeah, you got me. And they're like, no, Matt, we did not move that wrench. I'm like, what? Okay, so I sat there and I watched this thing, waiting for it to basically to stop moving, right? At some point, it should have slowed down and stopped going back and forth. And this is a large wrench. Like Amanda was talking about, we were talking about this earlier. She said it was about the size of her arm, which is about a foot tall. It was an old metal adjustable wrench, so it was heavy. It wasn't just like, a very light wrench. It was a heavy-duty wrench. And this thing swung back and forth and back and forth. I think I counted on for like 5 or 6 minutes. And then finally I said, okay, if there's just something weird about this, and we were taught to debunk. So I grabbed the wrench, I stopped it. And it sat there, not moving for a good minute or two. I said, okay, if this is real, start moving this back and forth again. And on cue, the damn thing starts swinging back and forth like a pendulum. And I was like, whoa, that just blew my mind. I mean, I'd seen objects move before, but nothing like that. And then also in that garage, we saw shadow people. Another thing that happened, we were actually in at the end of the night, kind of describing what happened to the client. I was sitting on the couch across from him, and a couple other people were there, and all of a sudden, I thought I saw a very short shadow, and of the four-legged kind, which I'd never seen before. I'd never seen a ghost animal. And as I'm sitting there, all of a sudden it runs up to me, and it scared me a little bit. I think I kind of jumped back, and then all of a sudden it was between my legs, which also really scared me. And all of a sudden I feel like this liquid on my legs, and I'm like, what the hell? And I reached down, and actually I had it looked like slobber. And then we figured out, he's like, yeah, my dog just died a couple months ago. I was like, oh, okay, I think your dog is still here. And that was a really cool experience. That's the first and only time I've ever had a ghost dog, drool on me. But, Amanda, what was one of your favorite cases?
Well, I wasn't necessarily a case, but it was like the first time that some of your family actually believed in ghosts. We were on a family vacation, and we were on the East Coast, and we were touring a lighthouse. And Matt was saying that he saw something there. Like his brother was there, his dad was there, and he was like, "Yeah, there's a ghost here." And we were standing at the register because I was buying I think I was buying a magnet or something, and the employee was there as well. And Matt's like, "Yeah, there's a ghost standing right beside you." And the employee wasn't really believing you, I don't think. And then all of the lights and the whole entire tower, the whole entire lighthouse went out.
No, they were already out. What had happened was the power had gone out, and they were apologizing to us for that. And essentially, they had the Coast Guard come out because the Coast Guard was responsible for that, and they could not figure out why the power was out. And again, take this all with a huge grain of salt, guys, because there's no proof behind this. But I told the guy, I said, I think this, most lighthouses seem to be haunted by possibly the keepers or whoever worked there, because they love their jobs. And if you ran a lighthouse, you were very dedicated to your job. It was a very, unforgiving job and a very hard job, and you had to put your heart and soul into that place. Well, the power had been out for a couple hours. They couldn't figure out what was going on. He was out to actually ring us up by hand, which was unusual for him. And we were on a family vacation to Maine. I think we were in Maine.
I think we were in Maine as well.
Yeah. So I told the man, I just feel like there's something here. And so we got to the register, and we're just chatting the guy up and kind of asking questions. And out of nowhere, just as it blurts out, I think there's a lighthouse keeper still here. He just wants you to know that he's here. And as soon as I said that, all the power came back on. Now again, take that with a huge grain of salt, guys. It could just be completely coincidental, or it could have been that the keeper just wanted somebody to tell them that he was there. I don't know. It was a cool experience because, number one, that just came out of my mouth. I wasn't even going to say anything. I was just trying to keep my mouth shut, because back in those times, he didn't say anything. He didn't talk about that. And if people thought you were sensitive or psychic or anything like that, you were treated really weird. That's like insane asylum kind of stuff. But yeah, essentially, it was just, and then, it was just weird. And then the girl who was standing next to him, her jaw just dropped. And she said, "Oh, well, my cousin's house is haunted. Do you want to come out and investigate that?" And I'm like, "Well, we don't really have any gear. And, I don't really do psychic stuff. I do basically, our team is very evidence-based. We like to collect data. And by data, I mean, pictures, video, audio, anything that can prove our experiences. Here's what we experienced. Here's the audio. Here's the video. Here's an EVP. Here's an apparition on camera, something. We want documentation of it. So, anyways, sorry, man, I didn't mean to interrupt your story, but yeah, that was a cool experience, and I don't know how many of the members of my family actually believed it, but again, just take it all with a grain of salt. It was just like a cool experience. Another cool experience was on the Queen Mary. This one actually was recent. We've been on the Queen Mary so many times. We've investigated every part of that ship, top to bottom. We were up in the area where when the Queen Mary ran over the Navy cruiser heading into England during World War II. When they hit that ship, they ran over a bunch of sailors. But also, what people don't know is the front of the ship actually flooded, and it killed about 40 people on the Queen Mary. So we're actually with a friend of ours, and I think it's her birthday party or something, and so she had paid for a ghost tour, a private ghost tour, where we could basically do our own thing, and we were trying to use the spirit. He was trying to use the spirit box to get something to come through, and I stood up and I was just stretching my legs, and I turned and I look, and all of a sudden there's a sailor sitting in front of me, and he did not look like he was like from this time period. He was solid, but he had blood all over his face. It scared me, and he had this look on his face like, "What are you doing in here?" He didn't say anything, but I got what he said. I mean, and basically I got what he was saying. You know, you shouldn't be in here. He was not happy that we were there. But I'll never forget that face. I felt so bad for him. I'm sure he had drowned or died in that area, and he's just still on the ship, unfortunately. So, anyways, Mandy, you want to talk about another one, or should I keep going?
Well, while we were on the Queen Mary, this one time we went and I kind of talked about it before in another podcast. We were walking around. We pretty much had the walk of the ship. I mean, we were able to walk everywhere on the ship is what I'm trying to say. And we stopped by this one room that they didn't rent out because it was supposed to be extremely haunted. And we were sitting like outside the door, and we could hear talking.
Room B340.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And then I was taking still photos with an old Minolta camera, and I got some, not orbs, but actually like ghost-like figures in the hallways. So I thought that was interesting too, because it was an old still shot camera. So I actually, dropped it off to get, the film developed. It wasn't a digital. And then I got like ghost-like ecto kind of things on some of the pictures. So that was interesting as well.
Yeah. Well, down by Room B340, we've been in there, like I said, multiple times. And we were walking back up the hallway. This is when I was with the California Ghost Hunters. I don't know if Amanda was there or not. But we were on one side of the room, and I think it was Marianne and I were on one side of the room, and about 8 other people were on the other side of the room. And it just... Marianne and I looked at each other and were like, it's getting like thick and heavy over here. And the other side of the room, they weren't experiencing anything. And so we were in there for almost 2 hours in EVP sessions and trying to communicate K2s. Nothing happened at all. Nothing. So we walked out of the room. We walked back up the B deck, which is the longest deck on the ship. We're walking up the way. We got about halfway up, and I just felt like something was staring at me for some weird reason. So I turned around and I took about 10 photos in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because that's what we were told to do. Just snap photo, snap photo. And this is with an old digital camera. I think it was like a 5 megapixel camera. It was one of the very first digital cameras to come out that we could afford. And sure enough, in one of the pictures, there's a black silhouette that's transparent in the middle of the hallway, right down by room 340. And it wasn't in any of the other photos. If we're going to stay on the topic of the Queen Mary, we had gone there to investigate one time, right either before or after Halloween. They still had the props up.
Oh, yeah, it was after Halloween.
Yeah, so we were in the engine room, and I started taking photos. I was taking just photo after photo down there, and I let them sit. I went through them, didn't see anything. Let them sit for, God, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. I used to go back through photos when I had time, just to review stuff. And I would review video, review audio, multiple times. And so I was flipping back through those photos, and I start to realize that one of the photos down in the engine room, I see it looks like they had a prop, and it looked like something was actually hanging from the ceiling, and it was like a head, and it had the right arm, half of the torso, and half of a left arm. And I'm like, that's interesting. I don't remember seeing that. So I start to kind of zoom in to see if it's actually hanging from the ceiling. And as I zoomed into it, I realized that it was transparent. And there's a guy named John that actually was messing around down there. He was jumping through the different fire doors. And unfortunately, he missed and got cut in half by one. So I'm almost wondering if that could be John that I got on camera. So I don't know, but it was just really cool experience, and stuff like that.
I think one of the coolest experiences that we had was actually this last winter in January. We went to California and we took someone with us. I think she's a Facebook follower.
Yeah.
A Facebook follower, and we went to Black Star Canyon, and we were investigating in the car because it was it cold? I think it was cold.
I think it was colder.
Yeah, we were investigating in the car. I had turned the car off, and we were getting EVPs. I mean, not EVPs. We were getting the MF. What is it thing again?
You were getting the notification lights on the car coming on.
No, I was talking about the MF. The MF. Whatever, I can never remember what it is. The electrical one.
Yeah, you were getting some kind of a dinging or something that came on for
no
reason.
That's not either. No, whatever. Someone's gonna say, "Oh, the things that light up when the electricity and the people use it, and it turns red and green."
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I do remember.
Whatever. So we were talking to something, and it was answering us on the little machine that turns red.
K2?
Yes, thank you. Oh my God, I don't know. I can't remember.
Part of the car.
I'm gonna talk about the car. But what I'm saying is, we were getting all kinds of answers on the K2 meter, and we were talking to something, and all of a sudden, the car. I have a push button car. You have to hit the brake to turn the car on. Okay? And then if you don't hit the brake, you can turn the car on if you push the button, but it doesn't exactly turn on. All the lights turn on and everything. Well, all of a sudden, the lights on the dash of the car turn on, but the radio doesn't turn on. If anybody who has a push-button car knows that if you push the button, all the lights turn on if your foot's not on the brake. So we were recording that, so I hope I got it on the camera. Have you reviewed that evidence?
What's that?
Have you reviewed that evidence at all?
I've looked through some of it. I have not reviewed it all. We're going to be putting that Black Star Canyon show together in the future. I don't know if we have enough video for a
maybe
full
just
show.
a short
video.
We
might do a short show on it. Yeah, maybe it'll just be some evidence based.
But I thought that was really interesting because there's nothing on that street. There's no electrical that could interfere with the K2 meter. There's nothing.
Yeah. And our cell phones were on airplane mode.
Yeah.
So
we
always make sure we turn our phones to airplane mode whenever we're doing an investigation, or we leave our phones at base camp, wherever that's going to be, in case somebody needs to call or something like that. We always have a phone, or somebody has a phone on, so that if something's going on, we can get alerted. Hey, you need to make a quick phone call or something. But yeah, so that was very interesting, and then to have the car do that was really interesting.
I couldn't recreate it. I tried everything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that it just shouldn't have happened. So Black Star. I mean, I think if we're talking about Black Star still, I've had a lot of Bigfoot. Well, I've had a lot of ghost sightings up there too. But I mean, I've had a lot of Bigfoot encounters up there as well. I think my favorite Bigfoot encounter up there was, well, probably I've had a couple. The very first one, and I kind of talked about this in my Bigfoot, podcast, but I'll go back over it. So it was Halloween night. I didn't believe in Bigfoots at this point. I was standing there with about 30 people. I was giving a ghost tour, and I was standing there with about 30 people behind my car. On the left side of the road, there was a barbed wire fence and then basically an open field. And there's trees and stuff like that, and the brush is about 3 or 4 feet high. It's pretty high. If a deer was over there, you probably couldn't see it unless you saw it move. So basically, it was dusk. It wasn't quite dark, but it was dusk. It was just getting to the point where the sun was starting to go down. And I essentially was just starting to give my safety protocol, jargon, basically, make sure you stay together, blah, blah, blah. And a girl goes, "Hey, somebody just threw a rock at me." I'm like, "Rock at you from where?" And she goes, "It came from over in the field." I'm like, "Okay." We've got some teenagers over there. They're just messing around. They're trying to scare us. It's Halloween night. So I took the 6 biggest guys I could find out of their group, and I walked over there, turned on my little miner's light because I didn't carry a big flashlight with me because I didn't want to blind anybody with that little light. So I start from my left to the right. I get about 75 degrees to my right, and I'm just shocked. There's this huge, massive thing just standing there. And it had like a watermelon for a head. I mean, the arms on that thing were massive. They must have been a foot and a half wide. And that thing had to be pushing 12, 13, 14 feet tall. You could basically see if it has knees. Basically, you can see where the knees were above the grass. And then, like I said, the grass was 3 to 4 feet tall. And man, it was just huge. And so we had a staring contest for about 3 to 4 seconds before somebody snapped me out of it and said, "Hey, go grab a camera." So I went and grabbed the little cool pics, flipped up the little flash, and take a picture. And that thing just, I was so scared, man. That thing like grimaced and growled, and I'm like, "Oh my God, it's gonna come over here and tear us apart." And thank God it didn't do anything. So I stupidly took another photo, and oh man, it didn't like that either. And so we went back to having a staring contest, and then it walked over behind this tree. This tree must have had a 3 or 4 inch diameter, but it was like if I wouldn't stood behind a blade of grass. I mean, it was so tiny compared to this huge thing. And it grabs the tree, and I didn't know much about Bigfoots at that point. I had heard lots of stories. I watched a lot of the paranormal shows growing up in the 80s and 90s, and I just always thought it was just some kind of bedtime story or something to scare the kids in at night, and man, that thing, it grabs the tree, and I said, "Okay, doesn't it know we can still see it?" And it kind of grunted at us, and then it stomped away. I mean, when it stepped, it shook the ground. It was like a small earthquake. You could feel the vibration under your feet. This thing was about 30 or 40 feet away at that point, and then it disappeared behind some brush. But that was the start of my Bigfoot encounters. Years later, up at Black Star Canyon, I had basically figured out where they were. I figured out where their patterns were. I figured out how to basically find them. I couldn't find them a lot. I could find them every once in a while. I had probably about 10 or 15 sightings of them. I'll go backwards here. One of them was when I was walking out of Black Star Canyon. If you've ever been to Black Star Canyon, there's this big high bluff right above where the trail is, the road is that goes into the canyon. And I was walking out, and there's a big open field there, and essentially that's where the old farm was, and it still has kind of some of the fences around up there. And this thing, I just felt like I was being watched. So I had a really powerful flashlight on me at that point in time because I was by myself. It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was walking out. This thing was like a headlight. So I walked over to the fence, the barbed wire fence, different fence. This is probably about a 10th of a mile down from where the first sighting happened. And I just start shining it into the trees. And as I come across to the left, there's a path up there. And sure enough, there's something standing there. It was brown. Probably about my height. It wasn't huge. It was only maybe 6 feet, 6.5 feet tall. Just brown colored. And it just stood there. And again, we had another staring contest. And then it turned. And it took one big giant step. It probably covered 6 or 7 feet in that one step. It was insane. I couldn't believe how deep the step was. And it literally, the head was basically attached to the shoulders. It doesn't really look like it had a neck. But it took a step, and it literally turned its hips, and basically as it turned its hips, it basically looked straight at me. And then it took another step, and it covered about 30 feet in about 3 steps and disappeared. But that reminded me, if you've ever seen the Patterson-Gimlin film, it looked just like what is on the Patterson-Gimlin film. When that thing turns and looks at them, that exactly the same thing. I went, oh my gosh, the Patterson-Gimlin film is real. That's exactly what I saw. It did exactly the same. Turn the hips, turn the body, swing the arms. It looked exactly the same. It just shocked me. So, anyways, I want to give Amanda a chance because I've been chit-chatting for quite a while. Go ahead, babe.
Well, I think some of the experiences that I find memorable are not on any kind of any kind of video or any kind of proof of evidence, because it happened in our home.
Yeah, oh God.
So when we first moved into our home, we were unpacking boxes, and we put in hardwood floors from, ourselves, and the boxes were full, and we were walking out of the kitchen into the living room, and 2 boxes that were next to each other and stacked next to each other, slid across the room. At least like 2 feet in front of us. And then weird things happened in that house. So I got a piano. I basically inherited a piano. And in the middle of the night, now we have cats, so I thought maybe it was the cat, but in the middle of the night, you would just hear one note, bing, bing, like just one note in the piano. And if the cat got it on the piano, she would, step, and there would be multiple notes on the piano. So that was strange. And Matt said that I would talk to someone in my sleep. So that's interesting as well. And then the dog, we had a big chocolate lab, and either when I'm by myself or even when Matt was home, she would bark at something that wasn't there, and all the hair on the back of her muzzle, not her muzzle, but the back of her neck.
Cackles.
Yeah, her cackles would go up, but you couldn't physically see anything. And Matt would be gone on the road, and he would be gone for months when he was truck driving, and he would come home, and I would want to go and meet him outside. And so I would go to the front door. This happened more than once. And the front door that's stuck in the summer, because it was hot and it was a wood and metal door, would open for me prior to me getting to the door. And, cabinet doors would open, and just weird stuff in that house happened multiple times. And then, when we were living in apartments, stuff would happen as well. So I really think, something followed us, or I'm not sure, but in our second apartment we ever lived in since we were married, we had we had a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. So we shared the bathroom with one of my friends. So my friend Trisha was living in the second room. We were in the master bedroom, and we had a Jack and Jill bath. Okay. Anyways, so she would be in that room in the middle of summer in California where it's 100 degrees out, and she would have a comforter on. And we ran the air conditioning, but we didn't have it set up very high or very low, however you want to say it, because of, cost. And so it wasn't cold. It was hot in the house. And she always had a comforter on. And I was like, Trisha, why? And she's like, it's cold in here all the time. And so, and we would hear things in that room when she wasn't there, but we didn't really. It's an apartment complex. You thought maybe it was a neighbor or something. And we go to move out to go to our a new apartment. Trisha had moved out already, and we had been stacking boxes in that room to move. And the door to that bedroom starts jiggling. So I'm thinking, okay, the neighbor upstairs is moving around. So I open the door. So I go back to bed. But then the door starts hitting the wall. And I was like, what the? So I go back into the room, and I put something in front of the door. Okay? Then the door starts hitting the wall still. So there was something in that house. So it's crazy. And then we moved to another apartment, and in that apartment we started getting random water in different places in the house. So I thought it was the dogs. I got down on my hands and knees. I thought they had peed in the house. I got really close to, and there was no smell. And I was like, gosh, we must have a subfloor leak. So I called maintenance. Maintenance came out, couldn't find a leak. Then we had another leak, and I was like, what the heck? So I thought it was the washer and dryer. So I called maintenance out again, and they came out, checked the washer and dryer. We didn't have a leak. Then we had a leak in front of, like a water spot in front of the kitchen sink, but not on the side that you wash the dishes, on the other side of the wall. So I called maintenance again, and they came out. There was no leak in the kitchen. So we kept having all these water spots, and the maintenance kept coming, and they couldn't ever find out what was going on. And then we also had, we had a guest room, and I kept smelling cigar smoke. So I asked the neighbor upstairs, do you smoke cigars? Because, not that I was going to stop him from smoking, that would have been rude, but I just wanted to know where the smoke was coming from. And he said that he doesn't smoke cigars. And then I just think it's interesting, like all these things that happened in every place that we lived.
Well, that's not the only thing that happened in that place. I witnessed a little girl. I was going to college at the time, and I came in one day, and I was trying to get ready for school, and I set my books down on the counter in the kitchen. I went to go grab a jacket because it was a little cold that day. I had to go into that joint, that other master bedroom. The apartment was like an H. There was a kitchen, dining room, living room, of course, and there was a short hallway that was about 8 or 10 feet long. And then there's master bedroom, and bathroom, bathrooms on both sides. So I went in there, and the closet was on the left side of the bathroom, and there was nobody staying in that room. That room is always freezing cold. Middle of summer, be like, 100 and some odd degrees out. The rest of the house is probably in the high 70s. That room you could see your breath in that room. It was creepy. I had to go in there and do schoolwork in there, and I never liked doing schoolwork in there because it always felt like I was being watched. So I'm in there, and I reach up to the top rung to grab a jacket off a hanger, and as I do, I have my arm extended out. All of a sudden, a little girl appears to my right. I can see her out of the corner of my eye, and I kind of turn my head, and I could actually visually see her. She reaches up and grabs the bottom of my t-shirt and tugs on it. Didn't say anything. She just tugged on it. And it freaked me out. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just going to ignore you. So I finished grabbing my jacket, and I ran out to the car and was going to take off for school, and I realized I didn't have my books. So I'm like, damn it, I forgot my books. Ran back in, can't find my damn books anywhere. I'm looking around, it's so frustrating. I'm like, what did I do with my books? I wasn't thinking ghost at that point in time. And then I realized, I just ignored that little girl. So I said, hey, little girl, I'm so sorry I ignored you. I really need my books for school. Can you put them back where you took them from? So I'm going back through both rooms thinking I just set them down on the computer in there in that guest room. Can't find them. Walk back out, and there's my books. They're on the kitchen table with the, what's it called? What is the thing you put over a tablecloth? Over my books, and the plant that was sitting in the middle of the table on top of it. So I know I didn't do that, but I don't know. That place was creepy. So anyways, we're getting a little long on time here, guys. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, but maybe we'll talk about this again next week.
We have a lot of experiences to share.
And I have 20 plus years of experiences that we can talk about. I mean, every single home we lived in has had some kind of strange activity. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you guys again for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate your support, and we'll definitely have another podcast coming out here soon.
For those of you in the States, have a safe and happy 4th of July.
Yeah, definitely. You guys have a good 4th of July, and we'll talk to you next week.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+. Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.